Hey guys, RPM here. Hope you're doing well, having a really great day. This video wanted to give the state of Bitcoin mining for, I guess, this beginning of April of 2025, where Bitcoin is $85,000 right now as of recording. And I just want to go through a website called Hashrate Index. And this website from Luxor, they have a lot of great metrics here for Bitcoin mining, network hash rate, difficulty, the transactions, blocks, the hash cost. We're going to go through, all these numbers here currently of how Bitcoin mining is and maybe what it was before. And I'm just going to give my perspective and just opinion on how, Bitcoin mining is or has been maybe over the past couple months or maybe even the past couple years. I know not a lot of residential miners are using big boy Bitcoin miners to mine Bitcoin at home, but dependent on their electrical cost, of course, that's the biggest factor. But anyways, we're going to go through a lot of info. So let's segue to our sponsor. Looking to earn profitably during your crypto mining journey? Look no further than ASICmarketplace.com, where they sell all the latest crypto miners and provide fast shipping service. At ASICmarketplace.com, the price you see is the price you pay. Shipping and DDP right to your door are included, no surprises at checkout. Pay your way with secure options like direct bank transfer or crypto payments like Bitcoin, USDT, or even Caspa. Ready to save even more? Use code RPM at checkout and get $100 off each ASIC order. Join the ASICmarketplace.com community today and mine smarter, not harder. Links down below. Okay, so Bitcoin mining. I mean, make no mistake, everyone understands that Bitcoin mining is quite industrialized right now, or has been, I'd say, for the past couple of years. And the network hash rate has grown considerably, I'd say, over the past 3 years. Okay, so I think beginning of 2023, the network hash rate was roughly around 238, 260 exahash. Okay, and here we are today. We are at 836 exahash for Bitcoin, okay, after about pretty much 3 years and 3 months later. So it is definitely quite the competitive game. Okay, everyone understands. For those that are all Bitcoin mining right now, especially the industrialized entities that are out there, they have cheap electric. Okay, they have a lot of big capital that have been invested in these companies, and they're able to get newer, efficient miners. They have very cheap electric, to keep their expense down. So obviously they're able to win out in the end, right? Compared to the smaller guy, like most of us that are residential miners that have, 10 cents or 15 cents or 20 cents per kilowatt hour. You're probably not Bitcoin mining right now, okay? With a big boy miner, that is. Though, granted, I'd say more so recently, in my perspective, is that we've seen a lot of home miners get into, little Nano 3Ss or Nano 3s or even those BitAxes, right? The BitAx Gammas, notably. A lot of people want to, try their luck to try to mine Bitcoin. But anyways, okay, besides the point, all right, I just kind of like an overview there, all right? So, but otherwise, right now, okay, a single terahash of Bitcoin network hash rate, okay, just a single terahash. If you were to pool mine with that thing right now, it would generate you about 4 cents, 4.5 cents USD. Okay, this is the Bitcoin hash price index. Okay, so just to give the definition, Luxor says, Luxor hash price, a term coined by Luxor, refers to the expected value of 1 terahash of hashing power per day. The metric quantifies how much a miner can expect to earn from a specific quantity of hash rate. You can denominate hash price in any currency or asset, but we display the metric in terms of USD or BTC sats, for example. Okay, so I can actually switch it to sats here. So I go up just today, right now. Okay, we'd be getting about 56 satoshis. All right, per terahash. Now you can actually switch this to petahash. All right, so if you had, 1,000 terahash, I believe, you'd be getting about 55,869 satoshis. Or if we do in USD value, USD value, that would be about $46 or $47 a day right now, as of right now. But you can see, if we just go by day, you can see it fluctuates, right? And but if we just go to all, just to give some history here, okay, like a petahash of Bitcoin hash rate back in 2021, right? Everyone understands back then when, you know, S19J Pros were selling for like $15,000 back then. It made sense, right? These things were making per terahash. If we just go by per terahash, it was like 38, 40 cents a day. Okay, 34 cents average, I'd say, per day back in 2021. But here we are, right? The bear market ensued, and then depending on your this doesn't factor in electrical cost, by the way. Okay, just a disclaimer: there's no electrical cost expense in this value. This is just how much a single terahash or petahash currently makes in for Bitcoin in USD or BTC. Okay, just to give that disclaimer. So as of April, or end of March here, a single terahash makes about 4.5 cents. All right. So yeah, it's quite low as to what it was, over the past past decade even. But I mean, that makes sense. Okay. Right. Correlating to the network hash rate and difficulty rise of Bitcoin. I mean, we go to the difficulty chart here. This is a good one to show. So you can see, right, the yellow line is going to be Bitcoin's price. The difficulty is this is the network difficulty of Bitcoin. So I mean, this correlates with the network hash rate rise. Okay, if we go to the network tab here, you can see, the Bitcoin network hash rate has pretty much, I'd say, tripled or quadrupled over the past 3 years. So yeah, that makes sense as to what's transpired here. And so there's an interesting, I guess, correlation here as to, as the difficulty is rising, the Bitcoin's price has also been kind of correlated here, going up with the hash rate. Now, I have to say, not all coins are correlated like this, just like as Bitcoin is. As some people say, does hash rate mean the price is going to go up? Not necessarily, not always, but you can see over time it's been somewhat correlated. But just to give some opinion here, okay, because network hash rate for Bitcoin has risen so much over the past couple of years, it's grown a lot. And now that we have a pro administration that's, into Bitcoin and crypto, and it seems like everything is all happy-go-lucky recently, minus the tariffs and whatnot. There's definitely a lot of negative sentiment regarding the tariffs. And so that's I feel like that's what has brought the Bitcoin price down. Or maybe we're just being manipulated right now. Who knows? But anyways, if Bitcoin's price does start to come down further, then I'm going to expect the hash rate to come down. Difficulty will obviously come down, which I think happens every 14 days, the difficulty adjustment. But a lot of the older hardware should start coming down, right? Should start turning off. And this is going to correlate to entities, businesses that are Bitcoin mining at scale and have generally cheap electric. Okay, so I'm in this hash cost metric here from Hashrate Index. I think this is really cool. So depending on your electric, let's just say you had 10 cents per kilowatt hour for a single, and depending on which miner you have, okay, so let's just say you have S19J Pros. All right, these are, a couple generations old now, and I know definitely a lot of people have these miners. Okay, so if you had 10 cents per kilowatt hour, I mean, you'd be paying every petahash of S19J Pros that you'd be spending about $71, almost $71 a day with S19J Pros. But as you go down, of course, as you get more efficient miners, okay, let's say S19K Pro, $55 a day per petahash, okay, at 10 cent kilowatt hour. If you had S21 Pros, which are the latest edition generation from Bitmain, or S21 XPs as well, you'd be paying about $36 a day at 10 cent kilowatt hour. But let's say for a lot of these bigger entities that have much cheaper electric, let's say 6 cents, right? 6 cents per kilowatt hour. You can see that drastically drops the electrical consumption per petahash here. All right, so S21 Pros you'd be spending about $21 per day per petahash. So this is a great metric here. I like this hash cost. It refers to the total economic cost of producing a certain amount of cryptographic hashes for Bitcoin mining, which is measured in USD terahash per day. It represents the expense Bitcoin miners face to generate 1 terahash of computational power per second over a 24-hour period, right? Or petahash. I think this should have said petahash, not terahash, if I'm understanding that right. It looks like it's in petahash. But great metric here. I really like this. I really like this graph here. Now, a really good one here is under the ASIC price data, ASIC price index. So this is basically index reflects the current price per terahash of different Bitcoin mining ASICs grouped by 4 different efficiency tiers. Okay, so we have a tier of under 19 joules per terahash. And then there's one between 19 and 25 joules per terahash and 25 to 38. So like, we're going to have like the S19K Pros between here, 19 and 25, but then under 19 is going to be like the new WhatsMiner M60s, S21 Pros, S21 XPs and whatnot. So just looking at how much these things cost, per terahash. And it's funny to see the 2021 ASIC price index here. Okay, so remember we talked about where an S19J Pro back in 2021 in like May of 2021, these things are 120, 119 joules per terahash, which is utterly insane, right? They were about $15 to $16 to $17,000 per S19J Pro back then. You guys remember that? I'm sure a lot of you guys remember that. But because these things were, at that time generating a really good return, in terms of dollar value, right? They were extremely profitable. Now you can see, these ASICs, a lot of the newer ones, right? They're not as much as as it was before, obviously, right? They're not making like $30, $50, $100 a day. So roughly right now it's been roughly about, here we are, end of March. The models under 19 joules per terahash is roughly around $17 joules per terahash. Okay, so I've seen the prices of like, let's say S21 XPs kind of come down, right? Because as Bitcoin's price is also coming down, the prices of these miners have also been coming down. So I'd say when Bitcoin was like notably 100K back in December. I'm using a different website now, miningnow.com. You can see back in December, a S19 XP was around 6,750, okay, back in December. But then, as Bitcoin's price started coming down, these things were about 6,400. And here we are today, okay, end of March, beginning of April, the S19 XPs sell for about 59.10, around there. So because the profitability as well, this is correlated to the profitability. If I go to the 3-month chart profitability here, you can see back in January, this thing was making, 15, 16 bucks a day. But then as we go along, here we are today, this thing is now making about $12, $13 a day. So it's kind of come down, but in a way it's been sustaining in a way. This is another topic I kind of want to talk about regarding, getting into altcoin miners like Dogecoin, for instance, or Caspa or Alephium. A lot of those ASICs have dropped off a cliff because, the market caps of those coins and, the emissions just wasn't able to sustain, just the sheer amount of those models that have been sold on the market. I mean, actually, it's not really that much compared to like Bitcoin or Dogecoin mining. The notable Antminer L9, this is I would say one of the most popular miners people have been buying over the past couple months, just because, Dogecoin, right? Was extremely profitable, but because, which we've talked about this before, I said that Dogecoin is quite volatile. And so January, this L9 was making, 48, 50 bucks a day. But here we are, 3 months later, it's gone down to $17 a day, right? So this is correlated though to Dogecoin's price. Dogecoin has fallen from like 44 cents down to like 16 or 17. So it makes sense, right? That, altcoin mining, it's a lot more riskier. It's sustaining, okay? It's sustaining. I have to say it is sustaining, but it is getting a lot more difficult, right? A lot more people are getting into, these types of miners. But Bitcoin mining has been relatively sustainable in a way, but of course not for like residential miners. Okay, like I said, a lot of industrial miners have been getting in, depending on your electrical cost, which a lot of them have 3-4 cents per kilowatt hour. I mean, they're able to profit, have a sustained profit in a way. Just also looking at the global hash rate heat map. This is really cool, actually, just to see where majority of the hash rate is around the world. Okay, so it looks like in the US, right? The US has about 36% of the hash rate of Bitcoin, roughly about 288 exahash. Okay, and then in Russia, roughly it's about 125 exahash or 15.6% market share. That's really cool. What I was surprised about is Canada only has 3% of the network hash rate of Bitcoin, which is about 24 exahash right now. So I found that to be quite interesting, I guess, in Q1 of 2025. Looks like they have Q2 here. Looks to be about the same. Looks like it's gone up. United States, 290 exahash. Okay, so yeah, there's a few other countries here that have, a bunch of hash rate as well, but China at 13.7%. So the US has way more hash rate than China. I guess, the whole talk when China was banning Bitcoin. I mean, that makes sense, right? That makes sense. So that's really cool, right? Really cool to see the heat map, the geographic distribution of the Bitcoin network hash rate across the world. That's really cool. So there's a lot more metrics here I could go through in this video, but I highly advise you guys that are, into Bitcoin mining. I'm sure you're already using this website, Hashrate Index. It's been around for a while. We did show this. We have been using this over the past couple of years. Really great website, really great metrics here. You guys should go check it out. But just overall, just in my opinion, yeah, Bitcoin mining, it's decent if you have a lot of the newer, more efficient miners. So the S21 XPs, S21 Pros, these miners are going to be the creme de la creme now. And for anyone that's getting into immersion, I mean, that's a whole other topic. I mean, immersion is really expensive. I mean, I guess kind of like another thing I should have kind of baked in as well, just because a lot of these entities have, 4 cents per kilowatt hour, and, an S21 is making about $6.20 a day right now. I'd say kind of take out another 30 or 20% for repairs, maybe just operating, right? Maintenance, right? But not only do they have the electricity, right, expense, but I'm sure a lot of these entities have, employees, and, there's maintenance costs. I'd have to say for myself, to be honest, I've 30 to 40% of my ASIC miners have died over the past couple months. So I've had to spend out of pocket, I guess, in a sense, or I can expense it, of course. But for a majority of my ASIC miners where I have roughly about 7 cents, it's I'm actually paying 8 or 9, because a lot of these miners I've had, even the S21 Pros, I've had my S21 Pro died 2 months ago. My S21, my Watts miner also, Watts miner M60S also died after a year. The 184 terahash model, I had to get repaired as well, right? So there's actually a lot of costs involved when it comes to getting your ASIC hosted. But I'm just speaking in general for a lot of these bigger entities that have, much more, thousands of ASIC miners. I'm sure they're going through a lot of maintenance, right? And I read on Twitter, there's a gentleman that had 100 of these S21 Pros, and they had 40 of them, about 40% of them die. All right, something with the power supply. So think about the cost there, right? If they're getting the power supplies fixed or sending them off or whatnot, having someone fix them, think about the labor, the cost, you got to bake all that in as well. So it's not all glitz and glamour. You're seeing these, the profitability of these things, but if you're running these at scale, you got to consider just the repair and maintenance as well. It's actually, it hurts. I've been through it. I'm going through that actually right now. I have a lot of my ASICs are getting repaired as we speak. The winter time really hurt a lot of my miners and took them offline. So I'm sure that happened, which I've heard a lot of stories has happened to a lot of people that have other models as well. S19K Pros apparently haven't been very well during the winter time as well. So anyways, guys, yeah, that's just the state of Bitcoin mining. It's been, I'd say, for those that are doing it right now, I mean, they're still generally okay. They're still able to sustain where Bitcoin's price right now is, profitable. And I know during the previous halving, it was quite a dire situation. But then as the Bitcoin network hash rate started to rise, and also the price of Bitcoin started to rise, it was becoming profitable, basically sustainable for those that have, of course, cheap electric, of course. But over time, you can see, right, in terms of the hash price index, how much per terahash or even petahash, how much hash rate you have, it's getting less and less, year over time. But I'm going to have to say, as things get more difficult, there's going to be older models that are going to turn off. Notably those S19J Pros, maybe the S19K Pros. There's definitely a lot of those that are out there. So there's going to be this equilibrium. It's going to be the battle of a lot of new miners coming on, older miners turning off. There's definitely a lot of new entities that are bringing on megawatts upon megawatts of power. Man, I should have went through the energy market, the mining consumption index. This is another great metric from Hashrate Index here. Basically, the Hashrate Index, Bitcoin mining energy consumption index, provides a close estimate of the overall energy consumption of the Bitcoin network. It is, however, not possible to ascertain the exact energy consumption of the network. So looks like right now we're roughly, it says the upper bound is about 30,000 megawatts. Lower bounds, 10,000 megawatts. Estimated consumption, middle ground is about 19,000 megawatts of power for Bitcoin mining. That is absolutely insanity. That is a lot of power. But yeah, I mean, that's what correlates to the network security of Bitcoin's price, one could say as well. And yeah, I mean, we're all hoping that Bitcoin goes to higher highs. I mean, it should, if you zoom out, as everyone says, later on, Bitcoin should be over 100K, 120K, 200K. I mean, that's what we want for the future of Bitcoin. I mean, that in theory should come. It should come, but it could take years, decade, who knows. All right, guys, that's just the state. I just wanted to give the state of Bitcoin mining. Let me know if you guys are Bitcoin mining. Are you a residential miner? Are you a big boy, warehouse industrial miner? Let me know down below if you are. I would love to get your guys' experience just about anything. Which models you have? Have you had a lot break down? Have you had a lot of maintenance? You got cheap electric? You're still going? You're able to sustain during these times? Let me know down below. All right, I'll see you all in the next one. Have a good one. Peace out. Peace out. Great website. Great website. Next halving is in April 12th, roughly around 2028. So another risk to consider.